LoreWarrior Online. The Solitaire. Overview. Always flying in the face of convention, the Diamond Sharks have begun to deploy their non-Omni Battlemech in frontline units. Even more incredible, perhaps, is that the design is truly sought after by many warriors. The Solitaire is highly regarded as a fierce, advanced deployed unit. It's designed to approach with incredible speed and tear up enemy units before the main engagement even commences. Capabilities. Spare no expense is not really a phrase commonly heard among the Diamond Sharks, where even the hardiest Lion Warrior will keep at least one eye on the profit margins. Still, that does seem to be the theory used in creating the Solitaire. An XL engine, endosteel chassis, ferrofibrous armour, what did they hope to get from this design? How about a machine that can threaten an unwary assault mech? The Solitaire can outrun almost any other design, slashing across battlefields at speeds just over 160 kph. With 96% of its maximum armour, this design can take a few hard-hitting shots before feeling threatened, if an enemy can track the 25-ton blur, that is. And it often gives better than it receives. With a quartet of heavy lasers ranging from the smallest size class to the largest, the Solitaire can take an incredible bite out of any enemy. Most Solitaire pilots break from their lance early, using their incredible speed to close with the enemy. Relying on their mobility, Solitaire pilots will tend to single out enemy mechs which have strayed too far from the protection of their lance or star, run in at their blind side, and tear away at the armour plates with savage strength. Although the Solitaire doesn't even come close to dissipating the heat generated during a full weapon strike, it's still normal for Shark Warriors to work themselves into a superior position and cut loose with every weapon, regardless of the heat build-up. Deployment. The Diamond Sharks initially posted most of the Solitaires to the Spiner galaxies, and although it looked as if they were diluting the strength of these critical units, Clan Ice Hellion discovered the truth in a humiliating defeat. Tempted to strike at a row Spiner cluster, the Ice Hellion advance fell apart as 5 Solitaires speared through their line and threw an enemy trinary into chaos. After this debut, the Sharks began placing Solitaires into their frontline galaxies as well, though only by the request of their mech warriors. A large number of Solitaires have also been traded off to Clan Ghostbear, reportedly at cut-rate prices, likely in repayment for the generous concessions granted by the Sharks for the Ghostbears as the latter clan abandoned the homeworlds. Other analyses work off of the assumption that the Sharks are paying ahead on a new deal, possibly with regard to moving stronger assets into the inner sphere through Ghostbear territory. So yes, this is a 25-ton light. Its chassis is the Alpha Primary Endosteel. Powerplant is the model SF25XL. Its cruise speed of 108 kph and a max speed of 162 kph, with no jump jets. Its armour is the Forging FF01 Ferrofibrous, and it's armed with a single Model 10 Heavy Large Laser, 2 Model 5 Heavy Medium Lasers, and 1 Model 2 Heavy Small Laser, manufactured by Auxiliary Production Site Number 4. Communication system is the S9R Beta Series Communications. Targeting and tracking is the Gamma 5 sensor package. This all translates into a mech that can walk 10 and run 15 with 10 double heat sinks for 20 overall dissipation. Yes, definitely under heat there. Its head armor is 9, while its CT has 10 with 3 on the rear, 9 on the side torsos, also with 3 on the rear, and 8 on the arms and 12 on the legs. The weapons are located with the Heavy Large in the right torso, the first of the Heavy Mediums in the left torso, with the second one in the center, and finally the Heavy Small located in the left torso as well. It's a really unusual but kind of cool looking machine, and you know what, for once the giant shoulder mounted weapon makes perfect sense. We're talking about a 25-ton light mech carrying a heavy large laser, a weapon that would normally be located on maybe as the big punching weapon for a high-end medium at 55 ton to heavy mechs and upwards. So this proportionately looks quite good. It also emphasises the fact that this is a light mech that can really reach out and touch a target and hurt them bad. It also helps that Plog, as always, has kept that kind of kinetic energy in the movement of the machine. It's kind of cool because it's an asymmetrical design where it lacks a right arm, or at least it looks that way, but now looking at it, I think there is actually a right arm there. You can just see above the right leg, the hip. I think you can see the fist cover. But you know what? Even if it didn't have that right arm, I think it would actually be cooler if it just had the right arm not exist, so to speak. You know, it wasn't really there, or the weapon itself counts as the right arm. But yeah, it's a cool looking design. The head is pretty alien. You know, there's not like much of a sort of humanoid kind of head to that design. That the weapon systems look cool. Is it anime inspired? Yeah, probably a little bit. But yeah, it looks pretty groovy. I suppose you might be able to argue that some of the scaling, it might look like a beefy power armor rather than a Battlemech, but still, I quite like it in comparison to the stuff that we were seeing in some of the hit and miss artwork for the Inner Sphere section of the book. This, as the first clan mech artwork, it knocks it out of the park. Now, as far as a Battlemech goes for its equipment and loadout, yeah, this thing is nightmarish. This is like, what if Piranha had bigger guns, basically. It's fast-moving, capable of doing an insane amount of damage, because heavy lasers obviously generate a shitload of heat, but they also do a lot of damage. Obviously, I think there's more trade-offs than benefits from heavy laser technology, but as something to give the clans as a kind of another unique weapon system, this made a certain amount of sense. Since the clans obviously were pushed into a situation where they were being engaged at short ranges anyway by their Inner Sphere opponents, opens up a lot of new ideas about tactics against an opponent that isn't the clans. And once they adapted that, then they could readapt it for trials against other clans. And yeah, you have things like the heavy lasers with their shorter range really making more sense for pilots who end up in these sort of narrow encounters where they might be fighting in urban centres or being engaged in hand-to-hand combat. So they've got their best and most damaging shot available to them at the nice optimum ranges. And the Solitaire on the table here could do some really, really nasty damage. The heavy large on its own can easily just peel away entire armor sections, and depending on the target that it's engaging, could easily just go straight internal in the first round of combat if you get the right roll. Heat is definitely a problem, though. 20 heat dissipation is nowhere near enough to allow you to use this thing properly. I think you'd be hard pushed to be able to fire both of their heavy mediums and the large without risking doing some internal damage to the mech, I think, as far as the table's concerned. I'll have to double check it, but I think you can be going into territory where you're just generating so much extra heat that it's not viable. It's either a case of you fire the large on its own after moving, or you fire both of the heavy mediums, but firing the combination of those three weapons is a big no-no. The small is just there for when you have to be able to shoot something, but you don't have... but you're too close to overheating on everything else. But yeah, I do like it. It's a good mech overall. It's a scary design. It's definitely something that you could use. Let's come up with a scenario. If I was running this, the kind of thing that I guess if the players were asked to work on the border of the Ghost Bear Dominion territory, for instance, and so they're in they're in the Chaos March kind of area, or possibly on Kurita's border. And they are, they're just like they're doing garrison duty, something like that. And the next thing is, the alarms are going off, they're deployed, and they end up encountering what they think might be something like a fire moth, that kind of thing. It's really fast and it's small. And so, that's what the early intel is. And so you're moving this thing around with, like you use like an unknown mech image or a model or whatever you've got as a proxy for it, like a meeple or something like that, and until the players get within a certain range of it or something like that, their systems are just detecting it as unknown light kind of thing, until you open up with this thing and it's like, holy shit. You could do a situation like that, so the players are encountering something for the first time. So you could come up with a scenario where it might be the first time the Inner Sphere have actually fought a Solitaire, and you could even craft like a little post-battle thing, whether they get it or not. this idea of them being basically like dragged in by the DCMS military, and they're being, they get interrogated about all the information, like, what it looked like, how did it move, who was using it, all this kind of thing. Like, the players trying to like give as much accurate information as they could, that kind of thing. And you could do some kind of fun stuff with that if you wanted to like add in the kind of like tabletop roleplay elements to it. But I think that'd be a fun little scenario with these like hard hitting things like turning up and the players like going, Jesus Christ, what the fuck is this thing? I could imagine Davros just having a whale of a time like trying to shoot that thing and not getting killed in the process. But yeah, that'd be fun. Anyway, I've rambled enough. Have a good one all. I'll catch you on the next one, and have a good week. Thanks again. Bye.